Welcome to my channel, where your adventure into the future starts right now. Step into a vibrant universe filled with groundbreaking technology, breathtaking alien landscapes, and exhilarating sci-fi narratives that challenge your imagination. From daring explorations of distant galaxies to haunting journeys through dystopian societies, we uncover the most captivating stories and innovative ideas that will shape the world of tomorrow. Subscribe today and join us on an incredible intergalactic voyage that promises to inspire and thrill. In the far-flung corners of the galaxy, where civilizations stretched across stars and species thrived under the distant light of suns, there was one question that intrigued countless alien races: why did humans, despite their incredible history of violence and conquest, seem so reluctant to engage in war? At first glance, humanity's past painted a different picture. They had waged wars that had reshaped their continents, toppled empires, and sparked revolutions. The stories of Earth were full of bloody battles, long sieges, and destructive conflicts, the scars of which still marred the collective memory of their species. Human history was filled with instances of nations rising and falling, of conquerors and kings, of armies clashing on vast battlefields. Earth, by all accounts, was a world forged by war, from the earliest days of primitive tribes to the modern age of global conflict. If one were to judge humanity by its past, the notion that they would avoid war seemed almost absurd. But there was more to this strange paradox than met the eye. Humanity, despite its violent history, had developed an instinctive understanding of the true costs of war. They had learned through generations of bloodshed that war, while an effective tool of conquest, was ultimately a destructive force that could erode everything of value: civility, progress, life itself. Humans, it seemed, were uniquely aware of the immense toll that war took on every aspect of existence. They had come to understand that war was not a means of securing peace; it was a tool of destruction that often created more suffering than it solved. The fear of what war could bring was so ingrained in their psyche that they actively sought to avoid it, even when it seemed like the most logical solution. As humanity expanded beyond their home planet, first to their moon, then to Mars, and eventually to the far reaches of the solar system, their attitude toward war began to shift even further. They had learned from their mistakes, both on Earth and in their early attempts at interplanetary conquest. It was not an easy lesson, nor was it learned quickly. But the human race, through trial and error, had come to realize that their survival did not depend on domination or conquest; it depended on cooperation, innovation, and adaptability. The question of why humans avoided war had become an area of intense curiosity for alien species who had observed humanity's rise to power. Many of these species had long relied on war as a means of maintaining control or expanding their territories. For them, conflict was inevitable; it was woven into the very fabric of their societies, cultures, and economies. Whether it was a species of insectoid warriors whose society was defined by constant, brutal skirmishes, or a technologically advanced race of peacekeepers who held their power through military dominance, war was seen as a necessary evil, an inescapable part of their existence. Yet here were the humans, less advanced in many ways, but they had avoided the destructive conflicts that seemed inevitable to others. To the alien races, this avoidance of war was incomprehensible, especially as humanity grew in power and influence throughout the galaxy. They had witnessed the humans in action on countless occasions, often finding themselves in situations where humans could have easily resorted to force to settle disputes. Yet, time and time again, the humans did something remarkable: they found alternative solutions. They negotiated, they bargained, they compromised. They sent emissaries, they built alliances, they found common ground. Even when conflict seemed like the only path forward, humans always looked for a way to de-escalate, to reach an understanding, to find peace without resorting to war. The key to understanding humanity's reluctance to engage in war lay in their deep, ingrained sense of the value of life. Unlike many other species, whose societies were built around hierarchy, domination, or the right to take by force, humanity had come to value life in all its forms, particularly their own. It wasn't that humans were inherently pacifists; they had fought when necessary, and they were capable of incredible violence when they had no other choice. But there was an overwhelming sense that the cost of life, be it human or otherwise, was too high to justify war. In the early stages of human development, their understanding of war had been shaped by the immediate consequences, destruction, death, and displacement. However, as humanity advanced in technology and philosophy, this understanding had evolved. The impact of war on the social fabric became apparent. War tore communities apart, shattered families, and left entire generations in ruin. Even when a victory was achieved, the spoils of war were often fleeting, and the costs long-lasting. In their expansion beyond Earth, humanity had seen firsthand the potential for destruction when they were faced with rival species. But it was also during these encounters that they began to understand the futility of war on a galactic scale. Humanity's early spacefaring days had seen conflicts with other species, but as they explored the stars, they quickly learned that space itself was a harsh, unforgiving frontier. War, on this vast scale, would only result in mutual annihilation. Even the most advanced technologies could be rendered useless by the sheer vastness of the void between stars. The complexities of space combat, unpredictable, vast, and with so many variables, led humans to recognize that diplomacy, science, and technological innovation were far more effective than war. It was during this era that humans began to adopt a philosophy of strategic avoidance, seeking to resolve differences through intellect and compromise rather than firepower. This philosophical shift was not without its challenges. Throughout the early years of interstellar exploration, humanity encountered civilizations that were far more advanced in military technology. Some of these races saw humanity as primitive, a potential target for conquest or subjugation. Yet when they attempted to push humans into conflict, they encountered an unexpected response. Rather than submitting to the pressure of war, humanity would retreat into their science, diplomacy, and negotiation. They would employ their ingenuity to find ways to neutralize threats, whether through technological innovation or subtle diplomacy. Rather than engage in full-scale war, humanity's response was to outthink, outmaneuver, and outlast their opponents. They had learned that the true strength of their species lay not in their ability to destroy, but in their ability to survive and thrive under the most difficult circumstances. One particular example stood out in the annals of galactic history: the First Jovian Crisis. A powerful coalition of alien species, the Krivak Dominion, sought to lay claim to humanity's colonies on the moons of Jupiter. Armed with vast fleets and advanced weapons technology, the Krivak saw humanity as a weak, primitive race, ripe for conquest. They initiated a campaign of intimidation, blockading human colonies and demanding submission. However, rather than engaging in direct combat, humans relied on their ingenuity. They used their superior knowledge of the solar system's terrain to create traps and ambushes, causing the Krivak forces to stretch their resources thin. At the same time, humanity opened diplomatic channels, leveraging their alliances with other species and calling on neutral parties to intervene. The result was a humiliating defeat for the Krivak Dominion, not through overwhelming firepower, but through a combination of tactical brilliance, patience, and the will to avoid bloodshed. The Krivak learned a valuable lesson that day: humans were not to be underestimated. Humanity's avoidance of war, then, was not an act of weakness, but rather one of strength. It was a recognition that war, though sometimes necessary, was not the ultimate solution to problems. Humanity had come to understand that true power lay in the ability to preserve life and to find ways of resolving conflicts without resorting to violence. They were not naive, and they knew that sometimes war was inevitable. But unlike many species who viewed war as the default mode of interaction, humanity saw it as the last resort, a tool to be used only when all other options had failed. In the centuries that followed, humanity's influence in the galaxy grew exponentially. They became known not for their military might, but for their ability to broker peace, to negotiate, and to find solutions to the galaxy's most intractable problems. Their reputation as peacemakers, problem solvers, and diplomats became their greatest strength, and many species came to rely on humanity's unique ability to navigate even the most volatile situations with a level head. Humanity's aversion to war was a key component of their success. Where other species saw violence as the path to power, humans saw it as a potential pathway to destruction. Their ability to avoid war was not an accident or a fluke, it was a deliberate and learned response to the catastrophic consequences of their past. It was this understanding, this deep-rooted wisdom, that allowed humanity to carve out a place in the galaxy, not through domination or subjugation, but through cooperation, innovation, and the unwavering belief that there was always a better way. And so, as the stars stretched on, and humanity's presence was felt across the cosmos, they would forever be known as the species who, when given the choice, always chose peace over war. They had learned the hard way that the price of conflict was too high, and the lessons of their past had shaped a future where war was not a tool to be wielded, but a tragedy to be avoided at all costs.